What's up, everybody? My name's Justin. I'm here to teach you how to work on your own vehicles with basic tools out of your driveway. There's nothing that you necessarily can do, but if you like to pay a shop or just like wasting money on simple stuff, you don't even have to watch these videos. My common knowledge goes back about 15 years. Never really had to have super fancy diagnostic computers or nothing like that. I get knowledge off of reading forums, and when I've learned over the years tips and tricks on how to do certain things. Now, my goal of this is to educate you enough so you don't have to worry about getting ripped off in the shop. I have many other videos on there about stuff shops couldn't figure out that we have diagnosed and got ourselves. Now, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. This is an intro. It's going to be on every one of the videos. If you want, thumb through my other videos, post comments on stuff. I'll reply to the comments as I can. I am not a certified mechanic. Just so you know, I am not a certified mechanic. I just know how to get the job done. So, if you're willing to learn, I'm willing to show you. Enjoy the video. 2003 Cadillac DeVille TCC solenoid change. Now, this is completely possible to do this in your own driveway. You do not have to take it to a shop as long as you have enough patience and basic tools. The main thing is your patience. First step, you're going to want to take everything off your air intake, your air plenum. Not everything that's right here, your air cleaner, everything. Pull all that off. You're going to have a couple of wing nuts and a couple of hose clamps, and unplug your MAP sensor, your mass airflow sensor. Take that off, set it to the side. Then you're going to have the box here. So you're going to have, I think it's 3 screws. And pull that top off. The computer's going to come out of there. Take that, fold it up to the side. The whole box will come right out. It was over here on the ground, but it must have got tossed in the car. Then what you're going to want to do is unplug anything you can. I undid the body control plug. Let's take that and set that off to the side. I undid the heater core line, which, if I get my finger in there, let's pull this wire out the way. Hook's right here with a hose clamp. Popped it off, and I kind of just shoved it back, stuck it back up in there. You're going to have another bolt for that. It's going to be right here, or right here, one of these two. I forget exactly which one. There's going to be 13 millimeter nuts with studs. Some of them are going to be bolts in this pan, some of them are going to be studs. Keep track of which ones are the studs and which ones are the bolts. That way you know your positioning is right. Let's see. You need to unbolt this bracket here for your transmission. You can just push that off to the side. There's no need to completely unhook it from the ball joint over there. You just, when you unbolt it, shove it off to the side. Oh, what else? We took the master cylinder off the boost, or the booster. Now this is the sketchy part. You don't got to undo the lines per se, because there's woven spots here and there's woven spots down there for flex. Can't really see them. Now, if your lines do not look like this, you shouldn't break the lines. Mine were shot, and it honestly, they didn't even break when I did this. They broke when I kind of leaned on it and it snapped them. But you're gonna want to take them off, because that's going to give you more clearance on that pan. You're gonna want as much room as you can get, because there isn't a whole lot of room up in there. Then you're gonna have motor mounts here. You're gonna have 3 bolts there and 1 way up in. Now I'll get to that here in a minute. The one that's way up in, them 3 are easy. The bolt that goes through here with the mount and it has a special hook. I'll show you that. But you cannot unbolt it from this side. You have to unbolt it from this side. You'll take a nut off with a wrench. And it's not going to be easy unless you got decent wrenches. Like ratcheting wrenches or whatever. Other than that, it's a pain in the butt. Now, when you get that, we'll stay with the motor mount bracket. This is the bolt with the special hook. Now, with this bolt, it's going to be in here like this. You're going to have to move this line out of the way. Kind of pop it underneath it. Be very gentle with it, but it will come out. Then you're going to have another nut and bolt here, nut on that. Right there. Nut on the other one right here. That's going to have to come off so it can drop out. Now the bolt that was up top, that's hard, is right here.
Where you go?
Huh?
Where you go up there?
I'm doing a video. Okay. The bolt that's up top is going to be hard. It's going to have a nut on this side. That you got to take completely off. I just set it on there so I didn't lose the stud. But when you get that nut off, and the other three bolts, this is going to wiggle around, but you're not going to be able to get it out. You're going to have to pull this stud out first. That's going to be an 18 millimeter. Pretty sure it was an 18 millimeter. But this will not drop all the way out until you pull that stud all the way out, because there's no room in there whatsoever. This is how this is going to look roughly on the car. Just like that. With this, like this. That's how it's going to be set up. Take the bolt off here, nut off here. Take that bolt off, then you can drop these two out. You drop the three bolts on the bottom, and then that one, that whole piece comes out. Now, before you get to this bolt, you're going to want to take your tie rod end off. And the reason for this is because there's no room to get to that bolt with this being attached. Now, if you've never done tie rods before, you don't want to beat, if you're not replacing them, you do not want to beat on the end here. I flip this over and screw it on just in case I have to tap it, but you don't want to beat on it because you're not replacing it. You're going to beat on this with a hammer on the flat side. Shake it loose. After you whack it 5 or 6 times, it should pull right up out of there. If it don't, just give it a light tap with that nut spun around backwards on it. It'll pop up out and you can take it all apart. And you should be able to get to that bolt up in there a lot easier. Now, to my knowledge, as far as I remember, that's all it takes. So now you take all the bolts out all the way around. Like you said, you're paying attention to where all the bolts are coming out, which ones are studs, which ones are bolts. You're going to need 13 millimeter wrench for the nuts on the studs, plus for sure 15 millimeter for the bolts and studs themselves. Other than that one oddball back there for the motor mount, that one's going to be an 18. Now, after you get all the bolts out, you see everything's cleared, you get out of your room, you're to this part now. This is going to be stuck. Now, do not get in here with a screwdriver and pry it apart. There is a donut gasket in there. I don't know if you can see that. Right there. The first one I did, I stuck a screwdriver in there, so I was going to pry it apart, and I wound up cutting the gasket. Now, you can't get this pan off to reset the gasket. So I had to stretch it all the way in through here, and I had to set that gasket in this pan with it being on the car. It was not fun and not easy. When you get this opened up, this little bit extra space it gives you enough room to see that TCC solenoid perfectly. You can actually reach in there with your fingers and pop that clip off. It's easy to pull it out. You ain't got to pry nothing apart or nothing. Now the hard part, I'm going to be editing in another portion of the video where you can actually see how I got it out with a pick hook. Right here. I actually got it that on video camera about how I hooked it and I popped it out. Now when it pops out, it's going to fly into that pan. It's going to fall into the bottom of that. But as long as you have a drain pan underneath, because fluid will come out of this when you separate it. As long as you have a drain pan underneath, it'll fall into that drain pan. I like the ones here, they kind of got a basin and then they drain into the bottom. That way the bolts and stuff land in this and all the fluid walks or goes away from it. That way if anything falls, I can just pick it out of there without having to sift through the fluid. So, okay, now we got that pin out. Simply just pop that TCC solenoid out. Throw the new one in. Here's the old one. Already got it out. It's all loose and sloppy and gummed up from crap. Now the hard part is going to be getting the clip back in. Now when you see the video, if you already seen the video on how I popped it out, you obviously know it's got to go out into the pan. The clip looks something like this. I'm not pulling the clip back out to show you how to put it in. I'm just going to show you my technique on putting it in. This worked way faster than anything else that I could find. Don't even bother trying pliers and everything. You're not going to be able to get in there with nothing. So I'm going to try and prop this up somewhere. So what I did is this is a hacksaw blade. Roughly about 1.5 inches here, about 2 inches here on this bend. And just a hacksaw blade bent. You're going to want to get this to sit just like that on that hacksaw blade. How you do that is you take 2 wires, or take 1 wire, I'm sorry, fold it in half. You're going to pull through like this. So you got a loop there. You take that clip and hook it in there, and then you're simply going to pull those wires tight. And now you can kind of position it, hold the wires, and there you go. You can take it, you can get it positioned, and pop it back in. Now after it's popped back in, it's still going to be a pain in the butt, but you just got to have some patience. After it's popped back in, how you got to get this out is you're going to take it, make sure you got kind of loose wires, smaller than that hole. So you can simply take the saw blade after it's locked in and slide it off the wires like that. Now you can get your finger in there with the wires, try and straighten it out kind of the best you can, and very gently just pull it out. If you just try to yank it, it's going to pull that pin out with it, and you're doing this all over again. That's my trick for that. Now that that's all set and plugged in, you can start reassembling. I left this apart just for sake of the video. Now reassembly is just the opposite of the taking apart. You put it back together all the same way. You got to put that and that stud back in at the same time. This one right here. And then you can nut it and snug it up. I'll just reassemble it the reverse of the way you took it apart, and you should be good to go. That's how I do my TCC solenoids. The whole job roughly should take, I'd expect to spend at least a day or two on it, just don't get frustrated, don't get impatient. That's when stuff starts to break. Like, well, like these lines right here, these lines by themselves. If you're not cautious and you snap your lines when you pull them up, $65 a piece. So there's 130 bucks right there on this job. So just, I don't remember how much the gasket was when I did it on the other car, but I learned that lesson real quick. So there you go. That's how I did a TCC solenoid in my Cadillac DeVille. I just got to put it all back together. I also I'll have a couple more videos on this car up. Valve cover gaskets. The valve cover gaskets are going to be a basic walkthrough. I'm doing it right after this video because I just did these 3 days ago and didn't think to take a video of me doing it, but I'm going to walk you through on how to do it, because it is possible to do without dropping the K-frame. This is also another without dropping the K-frame TCC solenoid job. So this job, you learn how to do this will save you $300 or $3,000 in a shop. Anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 this job is. So just a little information for you. All right, have a good one, guys.